There is your brake hose, okay? This is actually a 1-inch shorter brake hose. But when you're turning a bend, obviously it starts to sag down. If I turn it all the way, welcome back to the community, everybody, and thank you all for being part of it. If you'd like to, go down to the description and grab yourself a nice member shirt, Built Not Bought, or the newest one. It really helps the channel. Okay, today we are talking about pretty much drop spindles, the adjustable beams, the narrowed beams, what to watch out for, and what you need to know. The reason I'm doing this now is because I'm pulling the beam tomorrow, and we'll go over that in a second. So let's get on it. Let me ask a question. Do you have your new subscription to VW Trends magazine? Please go down in the description and get yours. They're back in action. They've been back for a little while. What a great magazine that we've had from our youth. All right, let's discuss something that mostly a larger majority of folks want to do. Now, some think it's just a quick and easy process of lowering a car. Technically, it is true, but there's things that you do need to know because there's multiple ways of doing this. So we're going to go over that. I'll make the video as short as possible. So let's start out here. You don't have to have an adjustable beam, but we're going to go over all the different things about beams, adjustments, and things of that nature. It just depends on how low you want to go. Just 2 inches? If you're just looking for a slight drop, then drop spindles are your friend. No altering needed, you're just bolting them on and you get instant 2-inch drop. But do yourself a favor and get 0 offset drop spindles to pull the wheels back in a little bit, because I believe the regular drop spindles, I forget what it is, a 1/2 inch or 1 inch. I really don't recall now that I'm on video. My brain leaves the chat. But get 0 offset spindles. Now, as you can see here, the shaft is raised 2 inches compared to the stock location. So you're not changing the geometry. The car is just lowering 2 inches, and that's pretty much it. You don't have to mess with anything else. So that is a nice feature for a quick 2-inch drop without, putting a adjustable beam on. So that is an idea for some of you folks before we get into the beams. And that's why I like drop spindles. It's just a quick 2-inch drop with no craziness needed. So, and it doesn't even move your camber or anything. So before I start explaining the different beams, if you lower the car more than a few inches, it is going to change the geometry. You do need to know that. But don't fear, it's really not that hard to deal with. So first, yeah, my fenders are removed because I'll be filming tomorrow for the beam removal, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do here real quick. I mock everything up, and you're going to see why very shortly when I start showing you a narrowed beam. I like to mock stuff up because when I built motorcycles years ago, we mocked them up completely because we were chopping them, and then you took it all apart and painted. I didn't paint my front beam. I mocked everything up first. Everything's done. I'm going to show taking it out, disconnecting everything. I'm going to show you a couple important things on today's video that I'd figured out with the narrowed beam that it's going to cause me a little headache, but nothing major. And then we're going to paint the beam, time lapse that, put it in. I'm going to show you how to hook the tie rods up, get them lined up, get the front end aligned, and go ahead and get it done. My brain stopped. It's okay. Getting older. As I said, we'll be realigning the car and not with a string. I'm going to show you how to do it properly with a camber and toe in, toe out, So you got your car lowered and you look cool. And that's awesome because I am lowering this, not to the ground, but it'll be somewhat low. You can see here it's sitting on wheel dollies. And I have 2.5-inch drop spindles with an adjustable beam, and I didn't lower the beam yet. That's on wheel dollies, and that's where it's sitting. So if you go lower than drop spindles and you start dropping her to the ground in the front, which I am going to do, then you need to get yourself caster shims. These are what they look like. You can see what they're shaped like, and they fit behind the front beam at the bottom. I'm going to show you a short clip here. All right, we're under the car, and your caster shims, when you are lowering the car, will go on the bottom. Wow, they fit really nice in there. Okay. I know I say okay a lot. They're going to go on the lower part of the beam when you are lowering your vehicle. Okay. And like I said, you will get a little heavier of a steering, but you're perfectly fine with it. It's not the end of the world. If in fact you have a stock one and it is wandering, now it stayed, and it is wandering on the highways or a little bit of wobble, you might want to try a set of these on the lower portion of the beam. Because what happens when you do go too low at slow speeds, and moderate speeds, it can feel a little bit different in the steering, okay? So when you add caster shims, while you're going through a parking lot 10 mile an hour, yeah, your steering can feel a little bit tighter. As soon as you start rolling along, it's straight and true. It don't do that wandering on the highway. It straightens everything up. They'll go behind the lower torsion tube like I showed, between the tube and the frame head. When you do that though, you have to buy longer bolts. You can see there, that is the longer bolt, obviously. You have to buy longer bolts when you use the caster shims just for where they are. And that restores the caster angle. Now, you don't have to do it, but it makes life more easier. Some may disagree, but I've tested the theory, and yeah, there is a difference with that. So that there, before we get into the adjustable beam part, is something you need to know. It doesn't mean not to do it. It just means that you can improve by adding the caster shims, because truthfully, even the stock Beetles, some people run them on. It just makes the wandering go away when you're going down the highway. Had to tell you that. So what comes into play next? You're going to need shorter shocks if you're going to drop it down far, okay? And that is very important. If you run stock shocks, that's what are on mine right now. They came with the beam in a box, so that's how I received it. I am going to put the shorter shocks on. I highly recommend getting a good quality shock. If you use the stock shocks, technically they will be pre-compressed. So it's like if you run over a cigarette butt, it'll like, what was that? So you want lowering shocks if you're going to do more than just drop spindles. Believe it or not, there's two ways to solve this. You can use the stock shocks, make sure you're sitting down, from a 1972 Opel GT. Yeah. What? No, you can. Can you find them? I'm not making this up. The front shocks on a 72 Opel GT are the same bolt up as the VW Beetle, but they're 2 inches shorter. So there is your short shocks, unless you want to buy, the VW ones. But that's a little thing I wanted to tell you. And I'll roll up the screen or put on the screen the part number for them. And they'll be down in the description below. And you can get them at Rock Auto. Actually, I think AutoZone sells them. You know what I mean? But you want oil-filled shocks. We'll go over that in a second. Now, that was just a little tidbit with the Opel GT shocks, okay? But you can do that. Now, MP and many others sell shorter shocks. They have ball joint from 66 and up. And they are for lowering. So you might want to think about one of the two if you're going to go too low, so that you don't feel like you're botting them out all the time. Couldn't get that word out. But wait, there's more. On your front beam, you have your sway bar across the bottom. What comes into play is if you go too low, you're going to scrape the sway bar. That's if you drop more than a few inches. Your sway bar will be very close to the ground. A lowered bar is just bent differently, so you will need one if you're going to go really low. And it's angled differently so that you have more ground clearance, but you definitely want to run a sway bar. So you may need to do that, so you're not pulling into a car show or a car cruise and throwing sparks and entertaining everybody, which isn't too bad of an idea, but not with your gas tank up front. So why do I have the camera here? Ball joints. Boink, 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 boink. If you're just dropping a few inches, then you will be perfectly fine. But if you're going to start to drop 4 or more inches, which is pretty low, does look cool, but at the same time where I live, you can't even get to a gas station parking lot without tearing the bottom up. your ball joints will cause you a problem for 4 inches or lower. And don't hold me to the exact 4 inches. They do make modified ball joints for lowering your front end down. They handle more of an extreme angle of deflection, technically speaking. And if you're going to go low, low, and I know some of you may say, I used my ball joints, I had no problem. I'm glad that worked out for you, but it's highly unlikely. So if you're going to go 4 inches or lower, you're going to need a different style of ball joint, which they do sell them. It's not a problem. Not the most fun thing to put in, but I did a video on that too. There's a surprise. I know, sounds like a lot of fun so far, but the end result is great anyhow. And we didn't get into the adjustable beam and narrowed yet. Tires. We have tire clearance issues. Yes, we do. Anytime you're modifying any car, whether it be a Chevelle, Beetle, a Corvair, I really like Corvairs, you will have tire clearance issues. When I had my 2-inch drop spindles on, I did have a slight issue, nothing major, but there were 145s on the car when I bought it. But he had a couple of the leaves missing out of the torsion tubes. Don't do that. It's dangerous. I put the right amount back in her like it was supposed to be. More narrow tires might help, and lower tires, smaller diameter, like a 145. If it doesn't, you can narrow the beam, but I'll show you my 155s on the front here. Now you can go with a adjustable beam and drop spindles and tune the car exactly how you want it to be. Or you can just drop it and scrape the ground. So what choices are left and what do you have to look forward to cost-wise? So what all choices do you have? Okay, you can do a stock. Mine is not stock. I'll show you everything in a minute up close on this and what to look for. A stock adjustable beam, which will lower the car in the front. You can adjust it anywhere you want it to be. But you are going to run into tire clearance issues unless the beam is narrowed, okay? Now, people often use the spare tires out of the newer cars or whatever. I don't know what the deal is with that. Or you can go to your 145. I've seen some people do 135, which to me is scary. That it is like a motorcycle tire, the old style with the skinny tires. I didn't like the 145s when I drove them on my 72. Felt squirrely to me in bends. I didn't like it very much. It just felt awkward. And I had no traction, especially when it was wet out. I'd hit the brakes, the wheels would lock up, and I'd keep moving. There's not enough tread on the ground. My 155s don't have a lot more, but they have a little bit more anyhow. Now that's a stock adjustable beam, stock width. Now you can do what I did, okay? This is Empey's beam in a box where it comes complete. They did sponsor me on this. I believe it's a Brazilian beam when I looked into it. It's a nice beam. Mine is a 2-inch narrowed and with 2-inch drop spindles. Now, like I said, I didn't lower mine yet. I'm going to bring you up close and show you something with a 2-inch narrowed beam so that you know. Now, whatever you do, don't panic. Mine's dusty, which is good. I don't want to wipe the dust off so you can see it. That is the space that you have between the beam and the inner well. And I'll back off the camera in a minute so you can see where I'm at. Some people will get these beams and say, holy crap, that's going to hit. Well, once it's bolted in place, it's not going to hit. It can't move. If it hits, you've got serious issues going on. If in fact it is touching it, okay, you might have to pound this area in a little wee bit. And there's a reason I'm saying that. The chances of that happening are very remote. I'm just saying if your car was banged in the front end or something and that is flexed out a little bit, you're going to have to beat that in a little bit so the shock tire don't rub it. There is like a 5% chance of that happening. So don't overthink it. But when I did put my 2-inch narrowed beam on and seen, yeah, that close, I was like, wow. 4-inch beams, I won't get into that. Yeah, you come with no shocks and all that. Totally different animal. But yes, it is going to be close. Now, there's more involved when you go to a narrowed beam. It's not just slam it on and roll down the road. Now, I'm going to bring you in close here and show you something. You need to know what you're getting into with the narrowed beam, okay? They're not a bad thing. Your brake hoses. Remember, the beam is going like this, and it's pulling the wheels, drums, calipers, whatever you have in. What happens to the brake hoses? There is your brake hose, okay? This is actually a 1-inch shorter brake hose. But when you're turning a bend, obviously it starts to sag down. If I turn it all the way, now I have to squeeze the camera in there, so ignore that part. Look how that is bent down. That's 1 inch shorter. The stock ones were even worse, but then again, you're pulling your beam in closer to the inner well. But I don't like the brake hose that low and rubbing up against the frame head. When I ordered everything I needed, nobody told me about the brake hoses, and that's my fault for not thinking. Squeezing the beam, squeezing the brake hoses in further. You don't want them hanging down, you're going to have a problem. I ordered the ones that said they were for a 2-inch narrowed beam. When I got them, they were only 1 inch narrowed. I put them on anyhow, and I just showed you what they did. Here's what I'm going to do to prevent buying more brake hoses or custom made ones, and it will make sense to you. You don't have to do this. It's what I'm doing. Now you can see with the driver's side wheel turned fully to the right, we still have a little bit of slack that's not needed, and that is causing an issue. Yes, you need a little slack, but not as much as that is. That is way too much. At least I think so, and you're never going to turn as tight as I have that wheel right now. What my plan is, again, you do what you want, but I'm going to disconnect my brake line, and I am going to take this bracket and bend it back. I'm going to bend it in slightly to take up some of this slack, and it'll remove some of the slack, and then you'll have to rebend your brake line. So not a real big deal. I'm not telling you to do it, but that's what I'm going to do. These are already 1 inch shorter lines, and I don't like the amount of slack, especially when it's already turned all the way to the right. And even going straight down the road, that's just too much. There's no need for that. So that's how I'm going to remedy that. Because I'm tired of buying the same parts over and over until they're either made properly or what I need. So I think that's a good remedy. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of an adjustable narrowed beam. No, I'm not. Sure sounds like you are. Ignore him. He's nuts. I'm just letting you know all the stuff you need. It isn't just buy it and bolt it up. Next, what are we going to have to do? Narrowed tie rods. Yes, kids, you too will have to put more money into it than you initially thought. It's okay. So when you are narrowing the beam in, obviously the tie rods are going to be shorter. So you're going to need to go with a narrowed tie rod set. While you might think I'm making this sound horrible, I'm not. A narrowed tie rod, try again. A narrowed tie rod set is about $100. And obviously, again, reline the front end. Anytime you drop your car down or play games, unless you're literally just doing drop spindles, you're going to need to realign it. And I got a great video coming up on that, how to show you to properly realign the front end and the back end, believe it or not. That's right around the corner. But you're going to need shorter brake hoses, shorter tie rods, things of that nature. Also, what I highly recommend, and I'm sure you already know what I'm going to say, maybe you don't, but I'm going to tell you, go with disc brakes in the front. If you can afford to go all the way around with them, go ahead. I'm not doing them in the back. A lot of your stopping power is in the front. I did a really nice video on disc brakes, proportioning valve, things of that nature. But go with disc brakes if you're going to have the beam out and do all that work with the spindle. I highly recommend the MP beam in the box, though. It literally just comes with everything. I just slammed some, I just put a disc brake kit on and that was it. So I do highly recommend it. It's a Brazilian beam, according to my research. It's a very nice setup. It shows up in a crate. Ooh, MP exclusive.
Oh, ho, ho.
Look at
Look at this, guys.
Really a nice beam. I'll bring you up close in 1 second here. But if you look here, even on the adjustable part, and the welds are very nice. Very, very nice. This is actually my first adjustable beam, so I'm pretty excited about that. Everything is new. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. This is great. And we have our 2.5-inch drop spindles, and you just bolt it up. Like I said, I got to pull mine off. I like mocking everything up before I paint. So do I cause myself more work? Yes, and you should too. But it's worth it. You don't want to paint everything up and then find out something didn't fit right, because they're not going to be real happy about taking it back. So the upcoming video, I'm going to take that out, time lapse it, get the beam down and out and on the engine stand, and we're going to go ahead and paint it. But when I put it back in, I'm going to show the complete assembly. I'm also going to show, it might be a 2-part series. I'll try my best to keep it short. Once we get it in and hooked up to the steering column, the steering box angle, and the front end alignment, and then that's done, I can move on with sanding the car down. I don't mess around with 4-inch narrowed beams, so I'm not really going to talk about them. And I don't know what the guys do with them, if they run them on the buggies or what. But if you're putting them on a regular car, I'm sure somebody out there might be talking about them. Now, something I am going to do, if you do buy an adjustable beam, you'll see an upcoming video very shortly. I'm going to show how to properly adjust the front beam, so it'll make it easy for you and you don't get hurt. It's not a dangerous thing to do. It's not a hard thing to do, but I'm going to show you how to tweak it up and down to where you need it to be without struggling. We're still on the dashboard. And as soon as we do the front beam, we'll be back on the interior, because I just want to get the front beam out of the way and the front end aligned. We got our 3 holes drilled for the chrome knobs for the Bluetooth. Everything looks nice in there. I might wet sand that with 1500 or 2000 and polish it. The ashtray is going to get painted tonight, speedometer put in, glove box on, so I'll be showing all that too. And you'll see the dash getting completed. When I painted the dashboard in the prior video, I forgot to do the ashtray. So I took it apart, stripped it down. I just got to paint it. I did the inside. That's the best I can get it. It's like a chrome finish in there, but I don't smoke, so there's going to be change thrown in there anyhow, you know, so I can buy candy, I guess. I don't know. Speaking of tire sizes, I'll show you something while we're at it. That is a 205 60/15 in the back, and the reason I'm showing you a side shot is there's where it comes out to, just right there. Now remember, I have a swing axle and I did have the car jacked up. It's actually going to sit almost pretty close to that fender. But when you jack a swing axle up and you didn't roll it back and forth and jump up and down on it, you know, the wheels are cocked still. But that's a 205, so that's where the tires are coming out on there. I think it's a perfect size for my needs. And it's sitting about right there once it's sitting normal. It's up in the air right now. Now, as you know, we're starting to show members' cars at the end of some of the videos, and I did get backed up on it a little bit. So let's take a look at Shane Hill's Super Beetle right here. That is a very nice car. Thank you for sending in the photos of George. I appreciate that. And let's take a look at Steve's ride and his beautiful family. Thank you for sending that in, Steve. I really appreciate it. What beautiful cars our members have. They really, really do. If you want to see your cool, air-cooled Volkswagen in the end of any of the videos, please send me an email. It's scrolling up the screen, and let me know. I'd be more than happy to put it in. Sometimes it takes a little while. I get backed up on footage, though. So see you Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the live chat for a giveaway. And also, I hope everybody has a great upcoming weekend. I'm going to try to squeeze a video in a little closer with the front beam so I can get it out of the way. So it's probably not going to be 7 days. It'll be probably like 4. I'll see you then.